Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, first and foremost, biggest breaking news of the week is we have our first official coach firing as far as performance goes. We obviously knew that John
Well,
Gruden.
not just performance, but
Well,
we
yeah,
know it's not just performance.
yeah. It's a kind of a mixture of things which we'll get into. But yeah, we reported earlier on the John Gruden having to resign slash be fired after 5 games. And now, after 13 games into his first season, Urban Meyer is out as the head coach in Jacksonville.
Yep, I don't think that really comes as a surprise to anybody given his actions throughout the year. I
Yeah.
think we're all kind of just waiting that happen. Think, well, maybe they'll wait to the end of the season. But yeah, given the things that we've heard and the way he's behaved with the team, it sounds like he's treating them like they're a bunch of college kids he can try and scare and act like
Yeah.
a like an asshole, and that's not going to work in the NFL, man.
Yeah, I mean there's a certain, term, professional in the word professional athlete and, just I know I've mentioned this with you before in just conversations that we have, but I mean, Urban is used to running the college game, which is very different. Where, I mean, you really have control of the entire team. I mean, you hold these players' livelihoods in your hands with the ability to revoke, their scholarships or things like that. In the NFL, these players are contracted, and,
Yeah,
and
it's a
he's
very
not.
very different environment.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you pop off to, like, I know I've said this before to you as well. I may have even said it on the show, but if you pop off to Josh Allen, the Jaguars' big defensive end, like, I don't know how that's gonna go. And apparently he was going around, like, and we'll get more into the timeline here in a second. But yeah, I mean, it was a it's kind of been a situation that's been doomed from the start. So we've got a little bit of a timeline here.
I think I'd say since the week 4 incident is where it started. I was reading earlier that the team pretty much knew that they were going to fire him from at least like I'm. It could have said the beginning of the season, like before it started. I don't know, but it said very early on that they knew they weren't going to stick with him. So seeing him fired, I figured they might keep him to the end of the
Yeah.
season, but
Well, he was a splashy hire. I mean, he was, obviously he was
yeah,
head coach down at Florida. This is a man that won 3 national titles in college football, and funny that he didn't even win 3 games in the NFL. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's the latest of the most recent string of college coaches to get an NFL opportunity. The most recent one that comes to mind that kind of is almost very parallel to this situation was in 2007 when the Falcons hired Bobby Petrino, who was the head coach at Louisville, and he resigned after a 3-10 start, so also 13 games. He was another college coach that had made the jump, and he went back to college football after that. I mean, really, like more often than not, it's a move that doesn't work out. Obviously, in the case of Steve Spurrier with the Redskins,
yeah,
famed
absolutely.
college coach, won actually at Florida as well, same place Urban Meyer won.
Oh,
And
that's a
yeah,
weird coincidence.
yeah, Florida's been a good team in the college ranks for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, Urban or Spurrier was not successful in the NFL. I mean, really, one of the and I hate to admit it, and you know what I'm gonna say is the one that comes to mind, other than Jimmy Johnson, who was the old Cowboys coach and also the head coach at Miami, um, is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's the guy that came over, but Pete Carroll also had prior NFL experience with the Jets. So I mean, Pete's kind of done both for a long time. But you mentioned the incident of the week 4 situation in the bar, but I think that it even comes a little bit before that. Now, it started back in February when Urban was filling out his new staff when he brought in Chris Doyle, who was a former strength and conditioning coach at Iowa, who was
Okay.
dismissed by Iowa for mistreating players based on race. So after all this came out,
Oh,
Doyle would resign from Meyer's staff in Jacksonville the following day. So that was the first incident. Now, in May, I know you remember, Meyer does a favor for old buddy Timothy J. Tebow. I don't know if that's his middle initial, but he
I'm
brings
not
in,
sure. I don't think it is,
yeah, but he brings in Tim Tebow for a tryout at a position he's never played in the NFL.
and
Tight end.
and hasn't played in NFL down since 2012. So
Yeah,
like, come on, man. Like I can get
yeah,
maybe like a YouTube, but dude, it's not. That's like almost 10 years.
yeah,
Like, are you serious?
yeah.
I
That's
mean, I think it was entirely a publicity stunt. Like they were
probably
doing it to sell some jerseys and some
get
autographs and
get
shit like
asses in
that. And
seats in Jacksonville. Yeah,
yeah, exactly,
I
because
get
they
it.
need it. So
I
I
get
mean,
it.
I that's there. I happened. I was like, I don't think there's a chance he plays at
Yeah,
all. But
yeah. Now, obviously, Tebow wouldn't make the 53 man, and he was cut after one preseason game after his terrible attempt that went viral on a block. Where you remember that where he just like whiffed on the block? That was terrible. That is George Kittle. Would have been.
he's the other made him cry, man. He's like,
Yeah, it's like
what was
what was
that?
that? I've seen Jimmy make better blocks than that. Um,
Absolutely, actually.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean Jimmy will give effort. And then in July, so before the season even started, during team activities and OTAs and everything, Meyer and the Jags were fined for violating team rules or for organized activities. Don't know the full details on that, but that was just another straw among many.
Hey guys,
And
let's go to the strip club.
yeah, so that's three incidents before the incident. And then, of course, after an 0-4 start, when they lose to the Bengals on Thursday night, Meyer did not fly back with the team. He stayed in Ohio. He went to his bar and
Yeah.
proceeded to get lap danced on. and
Yeah, I mean, that one just to me that was the biggest thing because he didn't leave on the team plane. He didn't stay with the team.
yeah,
So
man,
like he
you
set
got to leave
himself
with the
up for
team.
failure by like that alone. Like
Yeah,
it seems like they could fire him for that shit, dude. You're the head coach. You can't
yeah,
just not. You can't do that. And then on top of it, he goes into a and does what he did, and it's like, man,
yeah.
come on, like you should know better than that.
And like you said, they considered firing him because Shad Khan, the Jags owner, said Meyer must regain our trust and respect. So obviously his reputation was tarnished at that point. And
Yeah.
then, as if that wasn't enough, and like also, mixing in with all of this the fact that the Jaguars were 2-11 and trending downwards because their three most recent games were a 30-10 loss to San Francisco, 37-10 or 37-7 loss to the Rams, and 20-0 loss to the Titans. So they went from actually being a competitive team to just like really playing like shit. Um,
Yeah.
and then this past Saturday, Tom Pellisario detailed a staff meeting in which Meyer was delivering a message that he's a winner and his assistant coaches are losers, and
Dude, like what?
asking them to defend what they've ever won. And
Oh,
then
look
there's all
at you.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Like, and honestly, a lot of these coaches, like Daryl Bevel, the coach that takes over the offensive coordinator.
Mm.
Daryl Bevel used to be the Seahawks offensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. So technically, Bevel's done more in the
Yeah,
league
dude.
than
Like,
than Urban has. I
I
mean,
didn't know he had said that. I read about the
yeah,
story and all that. I
yeah,
didn't know about that message.
yeah,
That's wow, man. Like
and,
what kind of ego you have to do?
yeah.
I'm a winner, but all
It's
my staff are
it's
losers. Like,
almost
dude, it
like a
takes like a
god
lot more than
complex.
one. Yeah, dude. That's fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah,
no, oh my god. And then you know what? You see, he's crazy because when he uh when he benched James Robinson
yeah,
for having
yeah.
one fumble, and
One
you're gonna
fumble.
bench somebody like that, like,
One of your best
dude,
players.
you,
Yeah,
like I just don't get it. Like
yeah.
it's like Antonio Gibson's fumbled like five
Yeah,
times this season, which was
yeah.
ridiculous.
And on top
Imagine how quickly he'd have gotten benched.
yeah. And on top of that, I mean, the Jaguars in that last game against the Titans ran for 8 yards, which is a franchise low ever. That's a fucking franchise low point. 8 yards in the game.
Jesus,
Yeah. So
that is terrible.
there's the James Robinson situation where he had the dispute with him, and then also a dispute with wide receiver Marvin Jones, apparently, where Marvin Jones left the facility and had to be coaxed by teammates and other coaches to come back. Now, Marvin Jones downplayed the situation with Meyer and said that the two had a dispute, but they handled it like grown men. So he didn't have anything real negative to say about it, and Urban, when discussing the situation, said like he really downplayed it as well. But Also, later that day, the report would come out from the Tampa Bay Times that former Jaguars kicker, their first kicker of the season, Josh Lambo, was actually kicked by Urban Meyer in a preseason practice when
Yeah, I can't believe that, man. Like, what are you doing?
yeah, yeah,
You're gonna kick an NFL athlete? Like, what,
yeah,
dude? Like, I mean, yeah. What does that mean? He's been kicking college players all these years? Like, oh, you fucking
yeah,
fumbled. Come here, you piece of shit. And kicks him. Like,
yeah,
damn, man. He needed to be fired. I mean, after hearing all this stuff, it's like,
yeah,
sorry, bud, but
yeah, yeah. You
can't
you
do
just
that.
can't act like that on any level. Like that's not
Yeah,
that's
doesn't
not you
matter
can't do
what.
that in
Yeah.
college either or high school, any
Yeah,
level.
of course not. I'm just saying. I think he
Yeah,
thought he could get away with it in that kind
yeah,
of situation. He's like, oh,
yeah,
these are just kids. I can fucking kick them,
yeah,
do whatever I want.
yeah.
Like, clearly, dude's fucked up.
And there's also been reports that he was referring to Lambo and the punter as like kicker and punter, and not even by their names, and also dipshit. And I guess like Lambo is like
What?
the fourth most accurate kicker in NFL history, but he started off slow. I think he was a little banged up or something, and they cut him after a few games. I think he was like
Guy
a little.
from Urban kicking him. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Probably not.
maybe.
But
He did say the kick was a 5 out of 10, and I was like, if your kicker's not making kicks, kicking him in the hammy probably isn't a good way to get him to start making his kicks. I was like, that's
yeah, I mean, you got to wonder where he kicked him, and I would imagine it was in his
hamstring.
leg
He kicked him in the
somewhere.
hamstring. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it actually it says they
As
know, like we
yeah,
know that as a fact.
as he was stretching. Yeah, he kicked him in the
Dude, what?
hamstring. And Lambo said it was like he's like it wasn't like as hard as he could, but he's like it wasn't a love tap either. It was like 5 out of 10. So
Dude, what the fuck? Who
Urban
does
made
shit like
contact.
that?
I was like, you're lucky Josh Lambo doesn't kick you back, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I was
dude,
like,
like what?
but yeah. So anyway, he was calling like Lambo dipshit. He's like, "Are you gonna make your kicks today, dipshit?" And like, it's like Jesus.
Dude, this
Yeah,
guy is a trip.
yeah,
Oh my
man. It's gonna
god.
be interesting to see if he comes back in college at any point.
Dude, I feel like he should not be able to. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I
This
mean,
this level of behavior.
everybody said a lot of shit about John Gruden, but if you asked the Vegas players afterwards, and they talked to Jacobs, they talked to Carr, all
John
those
Gruden is
players
not
love John
nearly as
Gruden.
bad as
Yeah,
Urban Meyer, I would
all
say.
those players love John Gruden. I mean, like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like fucking Urban Meyer, like John Gruden wasn't calling players pieces of shit.
Yeah,
Like
John Gruden was fine. And compared to Urban Meyer, John Gruden's a damn saint. I mean, all he
Saint,
did was send a
some
couple emails that were a little,
some emails
distasteful.
on the machine.
Like they weren't great, but like that's all he did, man. It's not like he goes around kicking people and treating people like shit. Like
It,
I don't know.
Urban had a 5 year contract. Um, since they deemed him fired for cause. Um, they don't have to pay out the remaining 4 years on his contract. Now, of course, Urban can try to make that a big legal situation if he
I was
wants
gonna
to.
say, I imagine that he's gonna get lawyers involved, and they're gonna come to some kind of a settlement that's
Settlement.
significantly less than what he would have made in the 4 years.
That's
He's
what
gonna
John
get
and the
some
Raiders
kind of
did.
money.
Yeah, with that big.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. I mean,
Yeah,
regardless. I mean, I would say with Urban and the amount of things he did, like they might have some kind of argument to not
yeah,
pay him, but with
yeah.
the way the law works and all that, I imagine he's gonna get something out of it.
For sure, absolutely. Now, after the report came out with the Lambo situation, Shad Khan said he wasn't going to rush a decision. But after Wednesday, when it was reported Urban left practice early and didn't return, so the coaches started installing a game plan without him. And around midnight,
Wow.
it was reported that he was fired, the midnight firing. So now the interesting thing about this here is, of course, fired after a 2-11 start with 4 games left on the season. But since they fired him, the Jaguars as well as the Raiders, since they've made a change before the season ended, can start interviewing head coaching candidates as soon as December 28th. So they can definitely get an early advantage in the next 9 days here as far as interviewing head coaching candidates that other teams can't do until they make a change at the end of the season. So potential for Jacksonville maybe to get it right this time.
Yeah, they need it.
Yeah,
Jeez.
absolutely. Now,